This is your last session of the day. Thank you so much for enduring now to the third session. We're going to have hopefully some fun, and more than for some fun, we're going to keep talking about AI. So, we have been experimenting with different things regarding AI. In the first session, for those of you that attended, we talk about fundamentals. In the second one, we talk about how to learn about machine learning using microbits in a simple way, and especially thinking about computational thinking 1.0, computational thinking 2.0. But then this one is another set of tools from the Experience AI content that is all free and accessible to you, that helps you talk to your students about different safety ideas on AI. And the format, I find it very interesting, very appealing to run in a classroom because it's hands-on, it's activity-based, and it's playful. And I find some of them very interesting. Some of them are okay, but some of them are really powerful and made me think about some things that I wasn't considering. So thank you for joining. My name is Herman. I will share the slides at the end for sure for you to have access. I work with an organization called Digital Moment, and we're here for you to provide support and to explore digital learning in different ways. Let's see, what are we going to start with? Of course, Herman has a survey. If you can fill in this survey after the session when I share the slides, I'll appreciate it because it lets me know a little bit more about you, who you teach, and we can report that to our funders to say that we did this sort of sessions. Now, who designed this program? This program, like I show in the first one, if you were part, is designed by three organizations led by the Raspberry Pi Foundation, providing digital pedagogical concepts that they have been experimenting and playing with for many years. DeepMind, Google DeepMind, providing the technical background and answering the technical questions that need to be presented in these modules. And by the Cambridge University, they partnered with two researchers to kind of go over everything and make sure that they're really touching all the points in a way that is meaningful and that it has clear and concise and precise information for your students. Very important. Keep in mind that we all learn from this information. I've learned from this information, but what we're going to see today, the examples we're going to be working with, they're student facing. These are things that you can work with your students for them to understand more about this technology, their interaction with it, and their role within this ecosystem. That being said, I'm going to show you, for those that didn't attend the session before, Experience AI mini tour. I'm going to skip this for now. We can do this at the end. It may be because if you saw it before, you don't want to see it again. And I'm going to show you what it is, but then you can access this later. Let's start playing. Let's start learning. We're going to talk about data and AI. AI, machine learning itself, is heavily dependent on data, quantity and quality of data. But then what we're going to think is about this data in terms of us, our data, ourselves, and the systems. What is our role? How can we understand that better? The objective is that we're going to reflect of data that we're already giving all these systems, whatever the system is. It can be a shopping site, can be a social media site, can be a video sharing platform, it can be a chatbot. What data are we providing? Are we aware that we're providing that data? Do we want to? Should we? That's the main objective. It's going to be ways to protect, but I want to invite the most reflection. Let's reflect on this type of thing we're doing and how we're experimenting with it. The session has three different activities. We're going to play with one, and we're going to see what that is, how that works. Now, first is AI and safety is structured in a very peculiar and interesting way. Everything starts with a video, and that video You can present that to your students first, and then you can choose to go and have a discussion regarding some or all the topics that you have in the video. Or maybe you have the video, you do one of the activities, maybe the one that I'm showing you today, and then you have a discussion. You can mix and match in different ways. I've seen also the option of starting just by discussing, by talking about the concept without knowing much. What do we have as previous knowledge of this information? Then now let's go and listen somebody tell us something else about it, and let's work with it so we can solidify our knowledge. And we're going to start with our first video. There's going to be 3 sets of information for 3 different types of objectives. The first one is your data and artificial intelligence. Let's watch this video and then we'll proceed to the activity and some insights. Each video is about 3 to 3.5 minutes long, so not too long, and lots of information, but very well structured.
Artificial intelligence is powering systems all around you, and data created by people is what drives this new technology. It's more important than ever to make smart choices about how to use and share information. There are ways to keep information safe. If someone decides to trust a company with their data, they expect the company to use it responsibly. This is nothing new. So how should AI systems change the way you think about data privacy? AI systems work differently to software people might be used to, and use data in new ways. Traditional software uses a rules-based approach, which involves using logic carefully designed by a programmer. Data goes into the program, and the rules define how it is processed to arrive at the output. Newer AI systems use a completely different data-driven approach, training a model with loads of example data. Instead of following rules, the model detects patterns in the data and repeats them. When a user scrolls through social media, the platform uses a model that has been trained using data about videos and the users watching them. That model generates a feed using data about the user, like their age, gender, and country, as well as content they have watched and engaged with in the past. Every time the user watches a new video, the platform has more data to make better recommendations. You might want to consider where the data used to create the model came from, and whether users agreed for it to be used that way. For example, the pictures or videos someone shares online. How would they feel if an AI model generated a picture that looked just like them because their data had been used to create it? A platform might get data about how users interact with a model. When someone supplies data as the input to a model, it should be clear what happens to it afterwards. Companies should present users with choices about the ways they use data. Using the powers available to you, check the privacy settings of a platform you are using. Make sure you are happy with how your data is shared and used. Protect yourself by thinking carefully before sharing information. Check your profiles and your settings. Decide whether the benefits of a tool are worth it. You can always find alternatives if you're not happy with a platform's policies. Think about the data-driven systems you already use. What data are you providing them with? How do you think it is shaping the output? What data privacy choices will you make in an AI-powered world?
Lots of information presented. So as I said before, maybe the best idea, if I were to tackle this, is I start with a conversation without presenting the video. What is the baseline? What do we know? What data are we sharing? What is happening with this data? That is going to help that when we present the video, we already prime the participants to think about these concepts so they might sit in a little bit easier. And then we have a discussion. What did we think? What did we see? How did that change the perspective? And then we go in the activity. Let's explore now the activity. The activity is called a data detective. And the idea is, where is your friend's personal data going and who's using it? And then it's recommended by groups of 2 or 3 kids. they all have recommended number of participants, and some of them, they assign roles to the different participants. Let's see how can we understand this one. The idea is that when we're talking about a social media platform and the data that is being collected, there are different types of data that can be collected. One is the personal data. So is what do they know about who we are, what we like, and what are our preferences. And the other one is the way that we use the platform. How do we click, move, brush, slide, all these different actions that we do, how much time to spend on one of these sites. Then one is about us, the other one is our interaction with the system itself. So that gives us already something to start thinking about this concept. In our activity for Data Detective, we're going to have a fictitious character called Aya, and she happens to be at a cafe, and they're just having a milkshake. And she says, this is delicious, this is great, I'm going to take a photo, I'm going to post it. So this is her social media profile where she has her information. We have the image of the photo that she took, and she's also showing that there are croissants, maybe some pictures, coffee, and then we have the regular things, comment, like, and share, and some information. This platform is a fictitious platform also called Buzzworthy. And this is what we're going to use in this case. That's what she's sharing. And then she takes the photo and posts it. Most of us have done this. Maybe all of us.Maybe many times. Maybe today. Who knows? Now, let's see what happens after. After this, a few hours later, she finds that there are two things that are peculiar. One, she's getting posts about local cafes within the app in her local city. That's unusual. Maybe she hasn't seen that many before, or maybe not at all. The second one is that she starts seeing ads for a new fast food chain that sells milkshakes. Interesting. I'm sure that you and your students, and of course Aya, they're thinking, how does Buzzworthy get to select these things? It has to be that it's checking what I'm doing. How is this happening? Great. Starts the idea, the conversation, the thought. What I'm going to do now is that I'm going to click on this link. I only have one screen share, but I'm going to put this link in here in the chat. Let me click on share to everybody. Copy the link, and I'm going to put it in the chat for all. Perfect. So, it says has failed. So we're not going to put it there for now. You're going to have access to it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to stop sharing, and I'm going to share now my full screen. We can come back. Let me go to present, and we say share the screen. And I planned this before, but I didn't plan it well. I forget things. Good. We're here. I'm going to make a copy. And now we can see the information. And I want to have one side of the screen is going to have the document that we have. And in the other one, we're going to have our slides. And we're going to start thinking, what is the idea? What happens here? It says decoding the terms and conditions. So that's the part that I told you that can be terrifying, that we all accept. We just click and we move along. But what we want to do is we're going to decode terms and conditions. Oh, thank you. Sorry. Thank you so much for putting that on the screen. So we have decoding the terms and conditions. And what we have here is some information. We have that it says we need to fill in this. So each one of your groups is going to be filling in this information. And how are we going to fill in this information? By looking at that information within the terms and conditions of Buzzworthy, that social media company that we talk about. And what I say is terrifying because most of us, we click accept, we don't read. And this is less complicated or less, he has less legalese than most or normal terms and agreements. And this is something that your students can think about the process and the things they're giving away. So let's think about it. Let's put this on the side. The first one, we want to try and figure out what is the personal data that we are sharing or agreeing to share when we sign the terms and conditions for Buzzworthy. Thankfully, it's very easy because we have personal data collection. It tells us right away, it's not hard to find, and it's not hidden under any other small print or difficult things to identify. It says the data we collect includes, so it includes the name, our handle, our email address, our phone number, location, country, gender, IP address, and all the photos and videos that we post. So that's a lot of information that should make us think, okay, do I want this company to have access to all of this? Is this all okay? And starts the idea of a trade-off. It might be okay. You might be getting enough from this. And you said, no, I really want to use it because X, Y, and Z. But then you're making a conscious decision. So that's the first one. What is the personal data? The other one is what is the usage data? Remember, how are we interacting? And they say we're collecting usage data that relevant to clicks. So where and when do you click on the screen? What you like? What comments do you write? What shares do you do? To whom? How often? How many? How many things do you save? How many videos did you see and what videos? And for how long did you watch them? When I think about this, I find the usage data a little bit more palatable to be shared with them than the personal data. But still, it's an important thing to consider the trade-offs in what we're doing. So I want you to think about your students and how they will consider learning this. Is this something that they know? Is this something that is common to them? That can be the idea. Maybe it's not. Let me put this a little bit bigger and let me hide the film strip. Perfect. So we have those two. Then we have Buzzworthy. And then we're saying Buzzworthy is using AI systems in order to operate their business. What can we do for these AI systems? What is being done there? What systems are being used in order to provide the service? So let's take a look and let's see. They're talking personal data, sharing personal data, use of AI systems. Perfect. So once again, easy to find, but the important part in this case is not to obfuscate the information, but for the students to read it and to think about it. The AI system says that they're using this to improve the platform. Great. And then what they do is they analyze activities such as posts, likes, or photos to understand preferences. Let's think about that a little bit. If they want to analyze our photos to understand the preferences, that means they have an AI recognition system that is taking images and labeling those images what they are and what are the things. So it's not just the image, it's being processed and it's being understood. And they can also detect images you share, allowing to recommend related posts or products. That means that based on those images that were recognized and the things that we're doing, they also have an AI recommendation system that is going over all this information and saying this person, because of the things they're posting, they're doing, who they are, and all the information we have about them, I think they're going to like information about cookies, chocolate cookies. Let's post chocolate cookies. Ads like what we saw with Aya, that what they were posting is information about milkshakes and cafes. The last part that says here, third-party organization. So the information is that they're using it, but they're also sharing it with somebody else. Maybe they're selling it to somebody else and then sharing personal data. So to make sure that Buzzworthy works really well, then we share information with advertisers. And this sharing information with advertisers is very important, that it needs to be read that we sell information to advertisers. Or we can read it, we sell your information to advertisers. So very important. This exercise is my favorite one, because not only for students, for kids, it's an important thing to do, but it's something that can be important for us as grown-ups also. And we decide, and they decide how they're going to proceed, but now we're making a conscious decision. What should Aya do then? What should she do? Now we have all this. It's terrifying. Maybe she's upset. But then, based on this, we can decide. And in this activity, your students get to decide. The important thing is that none of these are the right or the wrong answer. It's an information, an informed decision that your student will make, or your groups of students. Remember, they're working in groups of 2 or 3. One is share her data freely for better recommendations. We do this all the time. We don't care. I just want to use the platform because I want to. And then we ignore the other part. The second, we can adjust our privacy settings when applicable and allowed, and choose who to share the data with. Some platforms allow to restrict the type of data and who this data is being shared with. And the other one is that maybe we are more mindful and cautious about the data that we present. How do we show ourselves through social media, therefore, to these AI systems and these companies and advertisers? It's a very interesting exercise that, remember, the point is for your students to do this and to start thinking about AI in a different context. We're going to do the second one, and I know, because this is my fault, I forgot to do something where we may have an issue, is that I need to stop sharing and share again. I truly apologize. Justine, let me stop sharing the screen and share again. I'm going to share the screen. In this case, it's going to be just this. We have the audio. And now we're going to go in the second one. So the second one, thank you, Justine, is going to be media literacy in the age of AI. So we explored the terms and conditions. Now we're going to go into something different. Is that we're going to talk about media literacy, and what is the objective? We're going to have not only the users and AI tools, but everybody thinking about misinformation and how can we fight or be mindful about misinformation, and what can we do? How can we stop or reduce the proliferation of misinformation? And what can we ask of the companies to help do? So we have different objectives. Once again, we're going to try one of them, and we start with this video. So this one is going to be media literacy in the age of AI. Remember, video discussion activity.
The internet provides endless sources of information for you to choose from, ranging from news organizations to your favorite creators. Deciding the level of trust you place in online content is an important part of media literacy. Seeking multiple sources to double-check the facts and only sharing trustworthy information are essential skills in a modern world. You are growing up in a world where AI-powered tools make it easier to quickly produce high-quality media. So how should this change the way you consume and share information? Generative AI tools allow people to generate text, images, and videos that look extremely real. This could be used to create misleading material called misinformation. The first step to generating something is writing a prompt, a description of what someone wants to create. Generative AI systems are created from lots of example data. The patterns found in this data allow the model to generate new content that reflects what the user has asked for. You might, for example, ask for a blog post about a historical event or a video of a scientist sharing their findings. But you should know that generative AI does not always produce factual content. Instead, it prioritizes content that fits with what the user asked for. A blog post about a historical event would normally contain dates and references, so the AI model will probably include those in the output. But if the facts you ask for are not in the data, then it may generate fake ones. The model can only work with the information found in the training data or in the prompt. In the case of a blog about a historical event, the dates will look correct, but may not line up with the actual timeline. Make sure you double-check any generated output. What happens if a user asks for media that purposefully contains misinformation? Here's where things get tricky. Information included in the prompt will definitely appear in the output, even if it's wrong. The realistic content produced could then be used to influence public opinion about a topic. As AI tools get better, it will become more difficult to tell whether a piece of media is AI generated. Instead, you need to check information and find multiple sources before you accept something as fact. Sometimes people make content that provokes a strong emotional reaction because they're hoping that people will feel too angry, upset, or excited to double-check the information. In the future, hopefully more platforms will be transparent and clearly explain their use of generative AI, so people can decide whether to trust them or not. What sources do you use to get your news, and how likely are they to allow generative AI? In an AI-powered world, you can be a critical consumer. So what skills do you need to separate fact from fiction?
So lots of things once again, but we start with the concept of data once more and the influence of data in the information that we're going to receive. Very important is now to think the information that we're getting and we're sharing, how can we make sure that that information is trustworthy? Can we be 100% sure? What can we do to try and get to something close to 100%? Let's try and analyze and see how much can we figure out. The activity in this case is called action plan. By the way, each one of the videos usually has 3 activities. I just chose one to show you to make things a little bit tighter for today. And in this one, what we're going to do is we're going to think, how do we act on information that we receive? Maybe for a friend, from a news site, from different places. And we're going to consider different options. One is that we receive a piece of information and we're going to determine if we want to share it, if we want to ignore it, or we want to double check it. And that information can come from any source, TV news, social media, or a messaging app. What do we do with that information? Do we have an algorithm? Do we have a way of thinking of what to do with this information? What could we do? Let's think about these concepts. What will influence your choice of sharing, double checking, or ignoring? Maybe the topic, the source, the presentation, your mood, your social circle, your interests. So many different things can affect that. What I want you to do now is I want you to create a set of rules for when are you going to share, when are you going to double check, and when are you going to ignore. I'm going to tell you my rule. Let's make up one. I'm going to share the media if it's related to cookies. I'm wanting cookies today. So let's leave it there. I want to share it. If it has anything to do with cookies in my rules, that's something that I would like to share. If the content seems, what do we say, too good to be true, let's call it. So we have cookies. If it's too good to be true, I'm going to double check it because I don't want to run that mistake. Okay, I think I'm covering my bases so far. And in the last one, if it's if it has any hate in it, I'm going to ignore it. Okay, those are my rules. Make your own rules and think. This activity is done with your students, run by your students in groups. They're going to be doing this. And there are specific characteristics how to form the groups that is not relevant right now, but it makes the interaction much more interesting. The second thing is that now that we have that rules, so we said cookies too good to be true and hate, perfect. What if the content was AI generated? Do I still keep those? Gonna keep them, but it makes me think. And I'm not very sure if I have a different opinion if it's AI generated. Let's see where we get with this. And now let's try examples. Let's put our rules to the test. The first one, we're going to say that we have a tool that is going to be helping us. So not only we have Buzzworthy, we have Aya, that these are fictional characters and company. Now we have a new company that is called Check AI. And this company has a tool that is 100% reliable in detecting if something was created with AI and up to what degree. We're going to use that to maybe go in a second take on our choice. The first choice is that we're talking about protests in the news. So in the news, we have students, organizations that are fed up about something that is happening because they want their students' rights, and then a local news company is reporting on these protests happening in the city. If we go into my rule decision model, I need to determine, do I share, double check, or ignore? So no cookies, too good to be true. It might be interesting if I put it at like too unbelievable to be true, so I might double check it. It doesn't involve hate really, and it might be interesting to me. That is me. Now I want you to think your students. What will they think? What will the rule decision be comprised of? And very likely they will share it. It's affecting them, their lives, and what is happening with student rights. Now we say, check AI. Can you go over this article and tell me, is this AI produced or not? And then check AI goes and says, this text was written with the help of AI, but it shows signs of editing and refining afterwards. Interesting. This opens a really interesting discussion. What do you think your students are going to say? Oh, no, unacceptable, has AI, that doesn't, it's going to be fake, it's going to be terrible. But the idea is that it was written with the help, maybe it provided an outline, maybe it provided a structure, maybe it provided some counter arguments, but we see that there are signs of editing, refining. So the human was still involved in producing this content. How will that change the opinion? It's very interesting. Let's go and let's check another one. It's a social media video about a celebrity's bad behavior. So we have this. If we put it our algorithm, do we share, double check, or ignore? And if we think about your students, it's very likely that they will be maybe tempted to share or at least to double check. But remember, now we have Check AI that is going to help us amplify that decision. And then AI says the audio in this video has been partially generated by AI for the purpose of reenactment. What do you think then? What does this imply? What consequences is this piece of information going to have? And the reality is this can change everything. Because if it's doing a reenactment, maybe it's because the sound wasn't good enough, but then is it adding the right content? Is it making up things? Maybe if it was said that It was created, the audio, it was the narration, was created with AI. Maybe somebody wrote it and the AI read it aloud, then that seems okay. But what do you think? What do your students think about this part? And the last one, let them post. So we have a controversial research paper suggesting social media should have no age limit. I have a strong feeling that this will be a highly shared incentive for your students and maybe for most people. But then we're going to go and check with Check AI, and Check AI says some of the text in this paper has been generated with AI and not edited. Oof, red flag. A research paper partially generated with AI, not edited at all. So it's not a format, it's not giving me a structure, it's just give me the content. Very dubious. I would have it in double check. And then some images have also been generated, including a couple of charts. This takes me into a super ignore. I was very close to go to ignore, but that means the charts are generated with AI. This information is not reliable. So we learn about creating a mental model that is going to help us decide. And then we started seeing what happens when we consider that this was not created by someone, but by a system. What is the challenge? Companies like Check AI do not exist yet. And the truth, this is the important part, is that it's very unlikely that they're going to exist because the race continues and the people generating the content and the systems generating the content are getting better and better and better. So the tool that is fighting it, they keep competing. So that means we're doomed. What can we do? The idea is platforms are not going to help us. And most likely, in many cases, we won't be able to determine if this was created with AI. That means that it relies on us in order to have a critical mindset and to evaluate these things and always consider the possibility that this content could have been generated with AI. It's always our responsibility to double check the sources, especially when we're amplifying, when we're sharing information. We saw two very different things. Please keep in mind that what I'm doing here is very reduced. We're going really fast. These are meant to do in 1 or 2 classes, each one of them, and then you to have your students interacting and talking, or maybe dividing in groups and presenting later on each one of the topics, so it's meaningful. The third one, it has to do with using AI tools responsibly. We've been talking about that in different ways, but in this one, we're going to see having young people reflect on their responsibilities when using generative AI, very similar to the first one, but we're using it indirectly. This one will be directly, and also the expectations of the developers that are creating and releasing these products, which is very important. Remember, AI doesn't get made out of nothing. There are people behind these systems. There are companies, organizations, that then we need to raise the bar on the expectations that we have of them. We have, once again, 3 different options. In this one, I have a few. We're going to watch the last video, and then we're going to explore an activity. Let me play it.
Technology can help people get more done, stay connected with friends, and make parts of life easier. But while AI tools can be helpful and useful, it is also important to consider how to use them safely and responsibly. The developers of AI systems want them to be easy to use, approachable, and user-friendly. The media around AI and the user-friendly interfaces can make AI systems look and sound more human than they actually are. For example, marketing campaigns might represent AI systems with smiley human-like robots. Or when chatbots seem very human in their responses. Some AI systems are given realistic human voices, but AI systems are just another computer program, and they cannot think, feel, or understand. When someone uses an AI application, they should remember they are using a tool and are responsible for how they use it. Technology should empower you, but you still need to stop and think about how you use those powers. If someone uses an AI application to create a video of another person without their permission, even if the system allows it, the creator is responsible for their actions. There might be legal consequences to the use of an AI tool. There can be enormous benefits for society from using AI tools, but we need to decide when and where it is appropriate to use them. Rules that apply in everyday life, like not copying someone else's work, still apply when using AI tools. AI systems might be biased, where the output impacts a certain group of people differently to others, in unfair ways. When someone uses an AI tool, they should think carefully about who it will affect to make sure they're not causing harm. Developers making the AI applications also bear responsibility to help avoid harm. They need to make sure the system is fair and should be accountable to users. You should expect transparency from developers, being open and honest about where an AI system is used and what happens to your data. You are growing into a world that will be shaped by the use of AI across society. Building a set of principles for using AI responsibly will help create a world that harnesses the benefits of AI whilst reducing any potential harm. What safeguards should companies put in place if an AI tool is aimed at young people? How will you make sure you use these tools safely and responsibly?
So in this one, we're seeing the exploration of AI as a tool, or we're combining the things that we saw before, and they keep showing up, and they will keep showing up. Is the idea of data, how important the quality, the quantity, and their data and our data is being used. Second is the big idea of shared responsibility. Is not only the creators, maintainers of these applications, but is not them, they, is us, is all of us. What is our responsibility also when we create and use these tools and share images, as we saw in this example of somebody creating a video of somebody else? There are responsibilities, there are things that we need to keep in mind. And also, one important part is the lack of capacity, the lack and capacity of empathizing that AI or a machine has. Let's see what is the activity that we have for this and what can we embrace as rules in order for us to have better interactions. So this one is called Check AI Challenge. This is a bigger challenge, is structured in a different way where the team has a leader that is rotating and that changes the rules and the way that the kids are interacting. But what we're going to do is we're going to explore the idea of fake accounts. And this is going to go back to what we saw with Check AI and the capacity to identify uh, fake accounts and information. We're going to talk about AI errors as we saw before, and we're going to bring the concept of bias and how can we start thinking about bias within the concept of safety. And there are three challenges. There's a whole story of Check AI, and there are points, and it is very gamified, this part. We're not going to gamify it because I want to show you the core of the content. It can be gamified and made lots of fun within the classroom. So the first challenge is to figure out fake accounts. And the way that this works is that each team is going to have this number of guesses and they need to input the numbers that they think are fake accounts. Of all these images, there are 3 that are fake. So you have all these guesses, and after each one of the guesses, then the person that is running the session is going to say you have 1 correct, 2 incorrect, and they keep adjusting until they find one code that is going to help unlock the winner of the game at the end. But what I want to do with you right now is we're not going to share this, no, we're going to do anything big, but I want you to look at this image and I'm going to let you know there are three that are fake images. There are three of these people that are generated with AI. Remember, Check AI doesn't exist to the level that we use it. So we need to use maybe our knowledge, our understanding, and try to see if we can figure out. If you want to put in the chat which ones you think are fake, that's fine. That would be great. If you don't put in the chat, it's also fine. But I'm going to give you a few seconds to take a look and explore and see what is wrong. What is fake within these images? See, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start telling you which images are not fake. So the pool is going to start shrinking. I'm going to tell you that number 5 is not fake. This is a real photo of a real person. Okay, let's go and let's say number 2 is not fake. Okay, so hopefully now you're saying, ooh, got me or it didn't get me. Let's see. Number 8, not fake. I wonder how you're doing. Number 7, not fake. And number 4, not fake. Fake, 1, 6, and 3. Now that I told you, it becomes a little bit easier, but to be honest, I can't really tell. I can tell maybe it's because the earrings are too different, but if she's moving in any way and the image was capable of stopping the movement, I don't think I can tell. This one is maybe because the background, I never understand well what is behind, but I'm not sure. He looks extremely real to me. And this one, maybe because I see an earring here and one earring here. Somebody said the eyebrows are different. To me, they're the same. I would have been completely fooled. So, very important. These systems can fool us easily. Second, what is the next one? We're going to have this and have our students see if they can check AI errors. And these errors, they are sometimes, depending on the platform, the way that you phrase the sentence, there are many things depending, but they're not that super crazy. And the idea is that you go over each one of these examples. Remember, they're in groups, and they need to figure out what is the error and what should be the correction. The first one is going to be easy and it comes fast. It says the Amazon rainforest located in Antarctica. Nope, not Antarctica. So we're going to put this in South America. The Sahara Desert. This one is the one that I've seen most people struggle, including me, because it plays with some words that put you in conflict. Because it says the Sahara Desert, and then it says it's freezing temperatures. The thing is that it's being literal. So there's no freezing. It gets really cold, but it's not known for its freezing temperatures. For really hot temperatures, it gets cold at night, but that's not what it's known for. This one, somebody said, I wish this was true. Maybe someday the Olympics celebrated on the moon in 2028. I think too soon, and I don't know if they're ever going to happen. Some records will be broken. And the last one is one that I want to highlight, is because this was changed. There was something regarding the Berlin Wall, and because of the experimentation and the surveys that were filled and the data that was collected, they found that something else should work better here. So we're working right now regarding anatomy and the heart, but then it says that the heart is on the right side of your chest, but it is on the left side. So it helps to think about errors. And the last one is regarding biases. And then we have examples. We're going to go over a few of them. We have 3. So the first one is a bank that uses an AI model to determine who gets approved for loans. And they seen that they're rejecting a lot of people from certain neighborhoods, regardless if they have very good income or really good credit history. So what can be happening? What's the bias? What is the explanation and how can it be solved? So it involves a little bit more. And the bias, geographic bias, maybe it sounds like geography, yeah. Gender bias doesn't quite seem to fit that well, and popularity bias doesn't fit. So I will go with one, geography bias. If we think about the explanation, the first says the service wants engagement, so goes for less risky recommendations. The wording engagement doesn't quite apply. Sounds weird for a credit. Let's see, the system may have been trained on data that reflects unfair practices. Yeah, maybe that could be. And outputs reflect the historical makeup of the industry. Okay, meaning that maybe it's going considering the data of those neighborhoods in the past, and maybe it was a depressed area. This could be. So we could say maybe one of these two. How can we solve it? Remove addresses from the training data. Perfect. So that sounds very good. Maybe we update the dates or remove addresses from the training data, and that's going to provide. As you can see, this is powerful for your students to experiment and start recognizing that bias comes in very different ways and shapes and forms, regardless if it's data bias or if it's societal bias. The second one is for a music streaming service. This, it seems too real to me, but let's see. A music streaming service uses an AI algorithm to recommend songs to users. However, it tends to favor popular mainstream artists over independent or niche musicians, limiting users' discovery of diverse music. Insert music platform here. Geographic, not really. Gender, no, but popularity, 100%. So this is a data bias that maybe is following societal bias on interest that is taking popularity only into account. And now this makes a lot of sense. The service wants engagement and is making really sure bets on what it knows people already like, and is not trying to promote anything new because it's self-supporting. How can we solve it? Let's use, maybe put more weight on user preferences and habits. That should fix, because then we see the behavior of more people, and then we said, this is the big picture, but I see this small niche that is very powerful and people are very passionate and engaged. Why don't we include a little bit more of this? It's one more. No, we're the three. Now, the recommendation is that what we saw, we have issues on transparency, accountability, and fairness. How can we be more transparent? How can we and the organizations that provide this tool be more accountable? And how can these systems lower biases and be fair to everybody, not just to specific groups of people? And that we close with, it is an activity, but I'm just going to present it. It's in AI principles that were created by the Alan Turing Institute regarding these concepts. And it's called FAST. And I'm doing this last part very fast, so it kind of applies. F is for fairness. Then we have accountability, sustainability, and transparency. And these principles, I'm just going to leave them here. It's something that is explored throughout the activity in order to help to be fair and not distribute. When we're talking about fairness, when we're talking about accountability, we saw that everybody's accountable. Everybody's responsible for their decisions. Aya can make her decision, but she needs to understand what are the trade-offs. Then we saw for the fake information, there are huge risk of using these things. Who's responsible? Remember, us at different levels with different levels of involvement, but us. And sustainability, it's going to help us think about being safe and reliable, but also the concept that we're not talking here, but is something important, and we're designing something at Digital Moment to address this is what is the environmental cost of these AI systems and how can we think about it and be proactive in helping this process. And transparency, there are different ways. These models, how are they created? How much do we know? How much can we see how the decision was made and which ones are transparent, which ones are not? So, really interesting things. I want to leave you with the resources, things that we offer teacher training, pre service teacher training. We do multi classroom events. We did with the Ottawa School Board and the TCDSB before March break, big events on Scratch and Microbit and JavaScript multi classroom that were lots of fun. We do those very often, or cybersecurity. We have some other things. But this is me. This is Herman, and I'm here to help you. Reach out if you have any questions. I'm happy to talk and try to figure out something if I know. And if not, I'll try to search. And if I don't find it, I'll tell you I don't know. And then we'll feel sad together, but hopefully we'll figure it out. And at the end, there's a final survey. This one is different from the one at the beginning. This is for the Raspberry Pi Foundation to better understand, as you saw, the example that existed before on Berlin, the Berlin Wall, and now is anatomy, that was decided via the survey. And that is all I have for you today. I appreciate very much you spending the Saturday with us in these sessions. I hope they were meaningful and important to you. And I'll see you around. And if you have any questions, let me know.